Very, very, very enriching information you have shared there, Becky. Asante sana. And I think even before we go to you, Sherastin, so that now you can take us to the other half, which is more of the personalization and how individual, whether it's a studio or a photographer, would be. I will not hesitate to mention even during this, this discussion that the reason why it struck me about customer experience and customer service is because I saw your post on Facebook where you said customer service is what happens when customer experience fails. And I'm sure all of us have had experiences. Those of you who are watching, photographers or creatives, we have had experiences where you wish you kept time, you wish somebody spoke better to the client, you wish that inquiry was replied to on time. You know, even now we are dealing with issues of DM for price. You know, those people who are saying DM for price, and then by the time you slide to someone's DM, another person has already gotten that job. Sherastin, I think it's your time, but it is important for those who don't know you personally, so that they can just have an understanding of your background. Sherastin is a personal positioning professional, highly skilled in branding, positioning, marketing, communication, and digital marketing. In his work as a personal positioning consultant, he has served chief executives, consultants, entrepreneurs, creatives, and other professionals, helping them to brand and lucratively position themselves to get to the next level in their business and in their careers. So I think that bio is helping us so that we see what kind of information and knowledge that Sherastin is going to share with us. So he's also got a 10-minute or so presentation with a few slides. So tell us what you have for us, Sherastin.
Yes, personal branding is a somewhat, it's not really a new concept, it's a somewhat new concept that people are now starting to leverage, which was not happening for some time. And I think it is something that everyone should think about, because whatever process that goes on in this world, whatever business, there is that human behind that business.
Yes.
And I think that human is, thank you, that human is what we look for. We are looking for that connection, because yes, there are machines, yes, there are robots and everything, but you want someone you can emotionally, or something you can emotionally connect with. That is why the human factor in business is very, very important. Take an example of Elon Musk. I don't think Tesla, SpaceX, or anything would be what it is without him. And speaking of customer service, the last week, I think, if you were keen, the last few weeks, NCBA has been experiencing serious technical issues. You know who came to their rescue? It's not the customer care team. They tried, but they were overwhelmed. I think they were overwhelmed, which is very understandable. But the CEO came. I wish you can go and, I forgot his name. You can go and check his tweets. He actually used profane words, but I understand him, and I think it brought some humor, and it somehow tended to salvage the situation. And the fact that it's the CEO that came out to address the situation personally, it changed even the outlook of the clients in the whole situation. So, and I'm happy I have learned today that there's a difference between customer service and customer experience. I have honestly been cross-using those two words, and but generally I think I would like to address experience, the experience of your customers, and why that experience should be personalized. And this is a very, I take personal branding as a very personal thing which I really believe in, and I have seen it work many times. So then client experience, that is what your brand actually is. Because people will describe you based on the experience they had with you. If you're funny, people will say, this guy is so funny. If you treated them bad, they will say, the guy is good at his job, but he treats people badly. So the kind of experience you give your clients, that actually is your brand. Your brand is not what you think you are. Your brand is not your logos, your brand is not your appearance online. It is that experience which you give your clients. That is what you carry on your back every day. So the level of delivery to your clients, that is your brand. Whether you deliver poorly or you deliver very well, but delivery is your brand. What you deliver, good or bad, that's your reputation. That's what you carry around with you. A brand is a promise. When you establish a brand of a photographer, there is something you're promising with your brand, and your job as a photographer is to keep that promise. And when you don't keep that promise, then your brand has failed. Then your brand is not communicating what it should. Now, then, what we are selling is certainty. You're selling that certainty of a particular outcome. It's an outcome you're selling. If you're a photographer, you cannot see how many photographers are there in this country. I think we cannot even count. But the one who sells certainty is the one who wins. You are selling the certainty of a particular outcome. You're saying that by the time you finish working with me, this is what you will have. And now then, keeping that promise of that certainty. Now, this certainty or this promise is communicated in many ways, through your branding, through your marketing, through your sales. Then when a customer comes to you, they have either met your marketing material or they have met someone who has had an experience with you. So when they buy what they saw or what they were told, that is when they now come to you. They now choose to trust you because of what they saw before. So then, after they choose you, they have chosen to trust you. That is where now you come back to repay. You come back now to really show that what you saw is what you're going to get. So I asked myself the other day that if all your customers would have an opportunity to write reviews publicly about the service that you gave them, would your public image survive? All of them coming out in all honesty, not trying to please you, but coming out in all honesty and saying, this is the experience I had with photographer X. This is the experience I had with Deritu. Would your public image survive? So when you ask yourself that question, it will task you to ensure that you give your clients actually even more than they bargained for. That is what our panelists, our earlier panelists say, you give customer delight. Wow your customers. But do we, and it takes effort, by the way, to wow your customers. It's not easy. It's easier said than done. But are you committed to doing it? I think we can move to the next slide. So by the time this customer is coming to you, they already have formed an opinion in their mind about an expectation. They have an expectation. From what they saw about you, what they heard about you, they have looked at your social media, they have an expectation. So are you going to meet this expectation? That is what will determine, what your brand will mean to them. And we are talking personal brand here because mostly, by the way, most photographers in this country are freelancers, or they are doing it themselves. So you cannot take away the person out of the job. And most people, I believe, they hire a photographer based on that personal relationship. Because they can trust you with the job, they know you, or you are a strong referral from another person. So now the gap between expectation and reality is what determines what people think of you as a brand. That gap, and our job actually is to narrow that gap as much as possible if you can even close the gap, so that your image can survive, so that your image can thrive actually. Because if my expectation is this kind of photograph, and then what you bring out is something different or something lower than my expectation, you can be sure the next time before I come to you, I will shop around. So then keep that. Your job is to keep your promise and to keep your word as your brand promises. Next slide, please. Okay then, so then what to do now? What to do? Because we can discuss all these things, we can say this, but what exactly should you do? And now I took a case study of a photographer, and I tried to look, I only came up with 5 items that I think you can look at and think of as a photographer, then they will help you to improve your service and to improve and to even grow your personal brand. So the first one is you need to stand out. You need to stand out. But how do you stand out? Because photography as it is right now is a very populated space. And even with the advent of online platforms, everyone with a DSLR thinks they are a photographer. So how do you stand out? How do you stand out from the crowd? Two things, I would give two ideas, but again, as you sit and get creative, you will come up with ideas. But I'll give two which I think are very applicable. One is you can specialize in the service you provide. There are many types, many kinds of photography, as Steve would easily understand. You can choose one, then decide to serve the kind of clientele that want that kind of service. So by specializing, you stand out, you become an authority. You can also choose to specialize on a niche market. And you can say that I do, yes, general photography, but this is the market that I serve. That also helps you in this way. When you specialize, it means you will spend most of your time dealing with a particular thing. You will study a particular thing. And by the end of the day, you have the most information about that particular market segment or about that particular type of photography that you will stand out as an authority. And when you're very good at what you do, what is the next thing that happens? You give customer delight. Customers are happy because they are dealing with someone that is knowledgeable, that understands exactly what they are looking for, and it is likely that they have dealt with a similar client before. Also have a standard of excellence. A standard of excellence meaning you will give your ultimate best in every project that you take. Mistakes happen. However much you try, mistakes will happen. Sometimes we meet new clients with new kind of demands or needs. So mistakes will happen, but keep committed to doing your ultimate best. And also, the way I say it is, do it as if you're doing it for God. If you were doing something for God, you would not play. You would do it the best that you can. So stand out, have a standard of excellence, and then third, just learn, manage, and meet the expectations of your clients. How do you do this? You do this by asking questions and getting clear on the expectations of your client. Don't simply close a sale because you have to close. Understand what the client needs. But it's also somehow understandable that when there is no business, we tend to rush into the close without really understanding what the customer is looking for, and therefore we fail in the process. So learn the expectations of your clients, manage those expectations. If you know something takes a week, why should you say it will take 3 days? Say 2 weeks, so that within a week you deliver and delight the client. And also learn from the best. This is something that we forget so many times. We forget to seek mentorship. We forget to learn from the best. And learning from the best means we can minimize our mistakes, and we can lessen our journey in terms of our professionalism. So get a mentor, or at least learn from someone. It's a digital world. You don't have to meet someone face to face. You can follow people who are the best at what you do. Also, personalize your service. Personalize your service. What do I mean? Show up in person for important client meetings. Show up at the close. Show up at briefs. Show up at debriefs, and also be there when mistakes happen. Because most people tend to throw this to their customer service department or to their peers or their colleagues, instead of actually showing up, owning up for the mistake, and taking responsibility. Thank you so much. I hope we have all learned something.
Great. I'm glad that our panelists understand our industry. In fact, from my personal understanding is that from my personal friendships with both panelists is that you have worked with creatives, you understand. And even having known Betty, for example, in your baking work and in your fashion design, YouTube and Facebook, if you've got comments and questions, please let them come in early, because we have approximately 30 minutes left, or 35. like all your answers and comments responded to by the panelists. But one of the things that is very interesting in our industry, even not just photographers, let me say something that I think will be very curious. And Becky, I'll throw this to you, in as much as it's also related to you, and I'll come back to you on personal branding. Our dress code and our casual approach to our work. You know, I have had a friend just from our compound here who once told me, "Oh, Steve, what do you do?" And I told her, "I'm a creative." And he said, "You're the guys who show up in meetings late, and dressed in shorts and funny-looking t-shirts." You know, tunaweza saidika kweli as photographers, especially as artists. Do you think we water down? We want to be creative. We are artists. Hatutaki kuchungwa. So do you think? How do you think we should approach that? And how does it also add to the delightful wow factor? Because our clients expect us to be creative, to be artists. At the same time, saa zingine tunaambiwa katai kasuti. What do you have to say about that?
What I would advise creatives, especially in terms of dress code, in terms of your approach to your business, treat each customer differently. There are those customers who've been with you for the whole 10 years. There are those who are just new. Those who you know, and they want to be treated in a certain way. Learn your customers, learn their temperaments, learn their emotions. There's something we call emotional customer experience. If you can get the emotional beat of the human being, then you'll win them. If you know, Becky is my corporate client, this is how she likes things done, try and do it that way. And also, he had talked about branding. What are you displaying out there? What do you want people to see? Your company is ABC. What do you want people to see ABC as? Do you want to be branded as those guys who are always late? Those guys who are always not dressed well? And at times I say, casual doesn't have to look untidy. Casual can be smart. I think creatives, sometimes we overdo it. Just because I'm a creative, I'll walk in with
Beach shorts.
yes, and Crocs into a formal office. I mean, if you're going to do a shoot for a family, put on your shorts, put on your Crocs. You're in a garden, that is fine. If you're going to shoot a corporate event, try and look a bit corporate. Try and manage the client's emotion. As I'd said, each client is different and hence should be treated differently.
What do you have to say, Sharastine? It's more of the brand, and I mean, we have some people we know amongst us who have very rugged looks. We have all extremes. One of our top photographers loves suits. All his photographers wear suits and ties to work. But what would you advise somebody who's very curious about how that plays in and the image that comes to the client?
I think three things. One, as panelists said, what image do you want to put out? How do you want to be seen? That's number one. Two, who are you meeting? Okay.
Yeah.
Then third is what do experts in your field do? The guys you look at, how do they dress? Okay.
But at the end of the day also, I would say if you're meeting a client for the first time, please dress to impress. This person does not know you. Create a perception. However good you are, the way you are dressed will determine whether they will give you an ear or not. Or even if they give you an ear, will they give you a selective ear or an ear with full attention? Okay? So dress to impress and know where you're going, who you're meeting, then decide to dress that way. But either way, dress properly. Yeah.
Now, let's come back to social media. Becky, Because there's a lot that happens on social media with extremes where naweza kosea client and then they say utaniona, so they go to our wall and they post there, or they go to buyer beware and those kind of things. But then sometimes we find ourselves to a point where we are pushed. By the way, like when you're doing your fashion work, pressure, client pressure, nataka hii kesho. You know, we are also in an industry where we are at the end of pressure in production work sometimes, and clients say they want this, they want it very fast. There's a whole problem of over-promising and under-delivering. Yet we are told we should under-promise and over-deliver. What do you have to say about that? And do we have to be firm and very stern with our clients? How do we deal it with wisdom?
There's always a statement that goes out that the customer is always right. From customer experience, I somewhat disagree with it. The customer is not always right, but the customer has a right to be treated with dignity. Yes.
I think that's a revised version now.
Yes. So the customer could be irate, the customer could be angry, and at times I always say, it may not be the customer's fault, or it may not even be your fault. But at the end of the day, look at your processes. Where did the ball drop? Because by the time the customer is getting irate, probably there's a piece of communication maybe you did not communicate. An example, because we're talking about photographers, I'll try as much as to use photography as an example. You're doing a shoot. You told me probably 3 change of clothes. I come, well, I can come with 5, or I come and there's no changing room. You're holding a piece of cloth end to end. You did not tell the client this. So that's such small things to some people might get them angry. And when they're giving a review, and then probably with that, then you delay giving them their prints or giving them their first selection. So with that, they'll go, what now got them angry is you delayed giving them their first selection, but they'll go to social media and say, hey, this person didn't even have a changing room. They were holding pieces of clothes for me to change. And you will get angry. While on the onset, you would have told clients, we, however, do not have a changing room, but we will facilitate that you're comfortable when you're changing your clothes. So it is, I always say the customer, yes, there are those customers who are always on the extreme, but those are very few. Those are always very few. And if you're looking at using customer experience to increase your sales or to bring you more revenue or to bring you new clients, any sober client, potential client, will go and look at the reviews. And one review out of 100 reviews will not make them not come to you. So I always say, by the time a customer is irate, and even before they get to social media, of course there are those who will get to social media before they talk to you, yes. But look at the processes. Don't just shush the customer off and say, this is it, and that is how we do it. Look at what failed. Apologize and say, we're sorry, that was a communication breakdown on our end, but we will try to resolve it. However, that still remains our policy. It could be your policy, but it was not communicated in due time. So I always believe that out of all the clients you're handling, very few will go the crazy beat and post you on social media. But how we handle them, and even how we train our frontline staff. What I've realized, you'll get a new employee, a new photographer or a new receptionist. You're expanding. Do you have a training in place for this person that is documented?
They are the receptionist, the photographer,
yes.
and the delivery guy, all wrapped in one, yes.
Do you have for those who have teams, do you have a process in place if a new hire comes on board? Do you just assume, she's worked as an administrator, so I mean she should know admin work? But you do not train them. How do we do it here? What is our culture here? How do we open a call here? How do we respond to social media here? How long do we need to take to respond to social media? If you're starting up, you're the photographer, you're the receptionist, you're the cleaner, you're the delivery person, you should also have a checklist for yourself. When I'm responding as the receptionist or as a customer service person, that's not the same way I'll treat you when I'm taking your photograph. When I'm taking your photograph, I'm the photographer. When I'm responding to your quotation, I'm probably the admin person. And you need to learn how to wear all those different hats, yes.
And I think we get in Sharastin now, the personalization. We're in the creative space. I believe Becky is giving us, especially that part of checklists. I think I have always wished that my life is run by checklists. But then we are creatives. There is some leeway here and there. And as a personal branding specialist, I don't know what you tell us. You know, we want to be different. When I'm in the shoot, nitaongea sheng, I'll be smart. Will I crack jokes? You know, when people are having conversations, will I join? Ama nitakaa hapa niseme niko job. I don't want to interrupt. You know, all those things. From your perspective, how do we differentiate? How do we draw the lines? How do we make sure that it's so unique, unmistakably unique for all of us, and then it comes into the brand? And maybe you can even go further and tell us how it eventually helps my bank balance. You know, I know it was in the slide, but you can explain a little bit further. How does it eventually help build the business? And then we will come back to Becky so that she can tell us about introverts, because we have those of us who just like sitting in the back seat and do the excellent photography, but we are still part of the whole setup.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good question, because one whole point of personal branding is to inspire trust. That is why you want to personalize, to inspire trust. You don't inspire trust simply to get paid. You inspire trust to create a relationship. All right? So when you're in that shoot, we are not saying that you should be the professional with a tie here, camera, you just say move, hands up, face down, chin up. Not really. You want to blend into the situation. You are trying to create a relationship with the client. So it is not wrong to have small talk with the client, but don't overdo. It's okay to have a conversation, to try but at the end of the day, ensure it is genuine, because when it's phony, it will be known. Ensure that interaction is genuine. You genuinely want to connect with this client. You genuinely want to understand where they are coming from, why they're even doing this, how best you can help them to achieve the best results.
Are you saying that if the opportunity opens up, you can, you know, like pick conversation, authentic conversation, genuine conversation, without necessarily asking them very intimate questions or wanting to know too much, but talk about real stuff so that you keep that relationship. Is that what you're saying?
Precisely. You are okay. How? Let me use an example that most of us may not like. How do you talk to a lady you are interested in? Do you just go and say, "Can I have your number? I'm so good looking. It's going to be a good time." There is a process to it. You know, you are trying to charm. You will try to charm the lady. Customers are the same. You have to charm them. You have to charm the money out of their pockets. That is what you are asking about your bank balance. Personal branding should help you make more money. If it doesn't, I don't see the point of it. Because now, when you have built a strong brand, you have a reputation in the market, people trust you, and they know you are good at what you do. What does that mean? You can charge more, and people will still come. What does that mean? You will have more referrals and spend less money on marketing, while there's a whole army of customers who go out there to talk about your business. So at the end of the day, it should help you to build your business and even your own personality. People build businesses and they forget to build themselves. And relationships are far much more valuable than cash in your bank. That we should know. So have that, as long as it is genuine, be that person who wants to build a genuine friendships. I know you have customers who you have turned into friends. Now imagine if all your customers would have been that. You know, it would be something different. Of course, not everyone will accept your offer for friendship, but I mean, if you can treat people as she said before, if you can treat people with dignity, even if they were nasty with you, they will regret it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for those insights. Can we talk about the introverts?